In the first chapter, events unfold within the confines of the library. A young lady, with an ardent gleam in her eyes, took hold of a book and, consumed by an exhilarating desire, sought to learn about the events that transpired several centuries ago. Her name was Suyu, a mere 19 years of age, and she was an ordinary college student. However, while engrossed in her reading, she felt a gentle flutter in her pocket where her phone lay. Surprised, she retrieved it and perused the message contained within. The young ladies were discussing plans for a rendezvous and the destination they wished to visit. Although Suyu was tempted to join them, she had to decline due to her unfulfilled obligations. She was a solitary dreamer, often favoring her books and the realm of imagination. Among her friends, she was known as a bookworm, always finding an excuse to immerse herself in a new story. Though the young lady felt a tinge of regret and disappointment over missing the gathering, her focus remained steadfast on completing her work and acquiring new knowledge through literature. Deeply captivated by the book The Chronicles of Jinling, Suyu devoured each page with avidity. The tale of the royal despot Reinhardt captivated her imagination. She sensed his cruelty and ruthlessness towards those around him. A particular segment of the story caught Suyu's attention. Reinhardt longed to father a son, to whom he could pass the right to the throne, but he only had daughters. This provoked a deep resentment within him, and he was determined to find a way to fulfill his dream. Suyu sympathized with the fate of the young girls and the manner in which their father regarded them. However, it is precisely in the most captivating part of the story that Suyu accidentally relinquishes the book from her grasp. As soon as the book touches the ground, it is engulfed in a powerful vortex and a magical portal unfolds before her. She traverses the boundaries of reality and finds herself in another world, one that seemed so vivid and tangible. Suyu finds herself in an unfamiliar environment, surrounded by the ambience of that era. She encounters characters from the tale whom she had previously only read about. Reality and fantasy intertwine, and the young lady feels herself becoming a part of this enigmatic tale. Eventually, it becomes clear that she has found herself within this kingdom. It is later revealed that the king's wife had given birth to a child, a girl named Suyu. In other words, she had become an infant. However, the king refused to acknowledge this truth and simply wished to disown her. Instead, he used his younger brother's son and presented him as the queen's son. The true mother was executed. Suyu was filled with trepidation, finding herself in such an unfamiliar situation. She realized that her life would be completely transformed in this world. Now, a tremendous trial lay before Suyu to find her place in this intricate realm, uncover her true lineage, and restore justice. She sensed that this was not just a struggle for her personal cause, but also for righteousness and truth. And now she resolved to gather all her courage and willpower to become a force that would alter the course of her kingdom's history. As it turned out, in her true life, she had lost her parents at an early age. And now, it seemed like her chance to resurrect everything. The king commanded his newborn child, Suyu, to be sent to the so-called Tower of Celestials. It was a place of offering to the gods, where only death awaited those who entered. Yet, their souls could also be chosen for heavenly bureaucracy. That is to say, her own father callously dispatched her to death solely because she was a girl. Suyu found herself in a horrifying predicament when her own father commanded her execution based on her gender. The Tower of Celestials, where she was meant to be a sacrifice, stood as a cruel symbol of inequality and the merciless nature of the royal regime. There, children, especially girls, were deprived of life solely due to their unfavorable gender, deeming them invaluable and disposable. However, for Suyu, it became not just a problem but an opportunity to alter the course of her destiny. She discovered within herself great strength and determination to fight for her life and justice. The maidservants discussed this dreadful situation when suddenly the second son of Baron Arnaldo rushed in, being one of the sons in the family, and was offended by the mere thought of a stranger's child becoming a member of their family. Holding the child in his arms, while Arnaldo's dog dashed quite deftly and swiftly, knocking down the mistress of the house, causing her to drop the little girl below. After that extraordinary incident, when the head of Suyu's child remained intact and unharmed, everyone began to accuse the boy named Arnaldo. Rumors started spreading about the girl's magical abilities and her possible witchcraft. However, in reality, it was merely an unfortunate occurrence, and Arnaldo unknowingly contributed to that incident. The girl noticed that the boy was observing her attentively, and when she smiled, his tension softened. They established a connection, and Suyu felt more confident, knowing that she had an older brother who was kind-hearted and protective of her. Suyu truly cherished her bond with her newfound brother, but at times, his incessant desire to play became excessively draining for her. She felt that Arnaldo didn't understand her need for rest or having her own space. He wouldn't even give her peace at night, always wanting her to be by his side. It vexed and frustrated young Sui, especially when she grew weary from long days of learning and adventures in the new kingdom. She understood that Arnaldo had good intentions and simply wanted to spend more time with her, but this constant need for attention and playfulness irritated her. Indeed, over time, Suyu grew increasingly accustomed to her new family and life in this enchanting realm. She proved herself to be a courageous and astute young girl who quickly adapted to new circumstances and challenges. She experienced initial uncertainty and fear, but as time passed, she found her place within this family and learned to rely on her own strengths. Suyu was able to rediscover the family she had lost in her previous life. And although she was brought here as the coveted descendant, she gained more than just new relatives. The girl found love, support, and understanding within this family, which helped her feel like a true part of this world. By the way, the father promised and threatened his son Arnaldo that if he performed poorly in his studies, he would send him to a church school. This terrified the boy, and during a mathematics test, the girl Sui attempted to give her little brother the correct answer as a hint, for which the boy was later very grateful. Suyu did indeed encounter antipathy and suspicion from other members of her newfound family. Some of her brothers regarded her as a sorceress due to her magical abilities and uniqueness. One of the brothers even attempted to cast a curse upon her, but later it was revealed that his intention was not as malicious as it seemed. He was merely trying to cease her tears by reciting incantations, which, of course, did not make Suyu feel comfortable. This situation created additional tension and conflict within the family. Suyu experienced incomprehension and rejection from her brothers, which made her new life challenging. She felt saddened by this hostility. However, she endeavored to comprehend their perspectives and adapt to the dynamics of this new family, seeking to appease her brothers and demonstrate her kindness and innocence. Thus, the young girl ardently yearned to further unravel the nature of this enchantment and discern her role in this fantastical realm. The 7th chapter unfolds with a dream that befalls young Suyu, wherein she is subjected to insults from unidentified individuals. However, her elder brother intervened on her behalf. This occurred during her tender years. Suyu awakened with a heartfelt yearning to foster harmonious relations with her brothers, following the distressing vision of being mistreated. Her heart became filled with concern and aspirations for shared strolls, fraternal love, and support. She yearned for them to always stand by her side and come to her defense when she was insulted or oppressed. This dream provided Suyu with a renewed approach to her relationships with her brothers. She understood that relationships require efforts from both sides, but she was confident that she could fulfill her part. The young girl yearned for kindness, understanding, and similar dreams of shared strolls, as she witnessed in her dream. At that moment, the hostess entered the room, who served as her foster mother, and invited Suyu to join her for a stroll. The hostess began adorning the young girl in the most exquisite attire, so they could venture out together. Just then, Arnaldo entered the room, expressing his desire to accompany his sister on the walk. He longed to spend as much time as possible with her and remain by her side. Suyu felt joy and excitement knowing that Arnaldo wished to be with her and share their time together. It was the first step in forging the fraternal bond she had long yearned for. It marked the young girl's inaugural outing with her mother to the city, where they hoped to spend quality time together, relishing in the freedom of the day. They decided to visit Arnaldo's favorite store, intending to purchase confections and indulge themselves. However, their encounter with the hostile women at the store became an unpleasant episode. These women baselessly, warily, and malevolently treated the child, spreading malicious rumors about her family and personal life. Unfounded insults and profanities were uttered, devoid of any basis or factual evidence. Yet, These women did not hesitate to express their negative judgments and insult the child and her mother. This unpleasant situation stirred indignation and perplexity in both the young girl and her mother. Sui was seething with anger over this matter. Suddenly, the girl addressed Lady Catherine as her mother for the first time. It was a momentous occasion in her life. This little girl already felt a connection and attachment to Lady Catherine, and acknowledging her as her mother marked a significant step forward for her. Lady Catherine, for her part, greatly esteemed Suyu and her presence in her life. She was prepared to support the girl and shield her from the negative influence of those around her. There was no room for malice and envy from those who defiled Suyu and her family. Lady Catherine understood that there are more important things in life than stooping to respond to their insulting words. For Suyu, the title of mother held special significance. She was aware of her predetermined destiny, as described in the book, and desired to alter that predetermined path. The young girl harbored no desire to be a mere puppet, manipulated by the circumstances around her, and yearned for an independent destiny of her own. She resolved not to repeat the mistakes of the book's protagonist and was determined to change her fate for the better. As the girl and her mother entered the bookstore to purchase books for Arnaldo, they were greeted with an overwhelming abundance that left Suyu astonished at how he would manage to read it all. Suddenly, the young girl caught sight of that very book she longed to possess and reached out for it. It was a tome of enchantment. Suyu felt an intense connection with the book on magic, as if it beckoned her specifically. It marked the beginning of something new and extraordinary in her life. The girl sensed that this book could serve as the key to unlocking her own powers and grant her control over her own destiny. She plucked the book from the shelf, and her heart swelled with a thrilling sense of adventure and possibilities. This moment carried a feeling as if the book itself had brought them together, as if it were destined for their meeting. For Suyu, this book on magic symbolized more than mere enchantment and fantasy. She sensed that within its pages lay the key to unlocking her own abilities and mysteries. It was an opportunity to comprehend herself and the world around her through an entirely different lens. The captivation with the book on magic revealed the depth of Suyu's desire to unveil her potential and become someone extraordinary. She was inclined to study, experiment, and unfold the new possibilities offered by this book. Onlookers pondered that the very goddess of wisdom could have descended into this world in the form of this infant. The girl comprehended that the written realm differed greatly from the realm of reality. She opened the book and discovered the essence of magic and its profound nature. To achieve this, she needed to learn certain incantations. Suyu delved into the pages of the book on magic, studying various spells and rituals. She understood that they held the key to harnessing the power of magic. It was more than mere words on the pages. It was ancient wisdom that needed to be comprehended and internalized. With each incantation, Suyu felt her connection with magic strengthening. She sensed a potent energy trembling within her, ready to be summoned. The book on magic became her teacher, unveiling its secrets and instructing her in mastering the power she possessed. The hour of the evening meal arrived, yet Suyu could not bring herself to release the book from her grasp, and that only served to corroborate her brother's belief that she was akin to a sorceress. Suddenly, the light extinguished, and a wave of fear swept over everyone. They attempted to light candles, but in an instant, through the magic of one of her brothers, a powerful stream of fire erupted from his hands, illuminating the room with a brilliant fiery gleam, casting an illumination nearly as bright as ordinary light. All were struck with awe at this incredible spectacle. Suyu gazed at her brother with a bewildered look. She sensed that her brother, much like herself, possessed formidable magical abilities. They were gifted, and this was an incredible revelation for their family. Instead of fear or panic, this moment became one of marvel and recognition of the magical world that lay hidden within them. The fire burned brightly and fiercely, while their souls resonated with the powerful energy of magic, intertwining them together. Thus, they comprehended that magic was an integral part of their lives, and they could learn to harness their abilities to accomplish extraordinary feats. This moment further united them, and they embarked on a journey of exploring their shared magical heritage together. The dynamics between Suyu and her elder brother, Morel, were intricate. The young girl yearned for closeness with him, as he was the only one among her siblings who possessed magical abilities akin to her own. She longed to unravel the depths of her own potential, to learn from him, and to grow alongside him. However, Morel remained indifferent to her presence, showing no interest and employing his magic to deny her encounters. He exerted control over her, keeping her close like a marionette. Suyu felt disheartened by his demeanor and sensed her own limitations. She yearned for freedom and independence, for the opportunity to flourish and unleash the full potential of her magical abilities. Despite this, Suyu held on to hope for a transformation in their relationship. She believed that Morel understood the significance of familial unity and mutual support. The young girl harbored the hope that someday Morel would grasp the significance of their bond and find a way to be a more open and caring elder brother to her. Deep within her heart, Suyu nurtured a yearning for change and held on to the hope that one day they would forge a shared future where both of them would flourish in their magical abilities and support each other. In the 12th chapter, as it turns out, 5 years have already passed since Suyu joined her new family. During this time, she continued to flourish in love and harmony with her brothers. She discovered shared moments with each of them and nurtured deep relationships. A wife approached the father and handed him a letter from someone in another realm. Meanwhile, the servants who worked in the household always delighted in listening to Suyu as she began to recount her stories. The young girl, even at the tender age of 5, displayed incredible intellect and talent. She had the ability to captivate her audience with her words, imparting the magic of her imagination and leading them into a world of adventure and fantasy. When the parents discussed their daughter's fate, the father held a peculiar disposition regarding her remarkable achievements. For in the letter, it was mentioned that the so-called she expressed a desire for Suyu to live in peace and safety, away from courtly affairs. Her true nature must be kept secret. Morel, Suyu's elder brother, recognized the potential and giftedness of his sister, perceiving in her a great talent for magic. He understood that with his own knowledge and skills alone, he could not fully satisfy her developmental needs. Therefore, Morel proposed the idea of hiring a tutor, enabling Suyu to receive more systematic education and unleash her full potential. However, Morel was vexed by the fact that their parents devoted much time and attention to Suyu, bestowing upon her a special fascination. It seemed to him that his own accomplishments and efforts were neglected due to their infatuation with his sister. Morel might have felt overshadowed by Suyu and dissatisfied with the lack of recognition and support he received from their parents. However, there was another brother, Avery, who harbored great resentment towards Suyu. His anger stemmed from the belief that the girl had usurped his place in the family and the attention of their parents. Avery felt suffocated by the growing popularity and attention bestowed upon Suyu. His jealousy and animosity compelled him to exhibit hostility and a negative disposition towards the girl, thereby creating tension within the family. On the other hand, Morel had his own plans for his sister. Suddenly, a distinguished visitor arrived at their family. It was someone of great importance, a truly eminent guest. He came because of Morel and his future education. The realm of academia beckoned him. It was an offer from a doctor of sciences. The parents agreed to this proposition and were overjoyed by these achievements. The parents' delight in Morel's educational accomplishments was understandable, as it presented him with new possibilities and prospects. The arrival of a significant guest in their family, who came through Morel and his future education, indicated that his efforts had been noticed and recognized. The proposition from a doctor of sciences in the field of education was a great honor for Morel, affirming his abilities and potential. The parents were elated and supportive of his decision to accept this proposition. It demonstrated their belief in his abilities and their preference for his educational path. The young girl, Suyu, overheard their conversation and accidentally found herself in the room. It turned out that Muriel had spoken extensively about his sister. When Suyu heard Morel recounting stories about her, she felt apprehensive and unsettled, fearing that his narratives about her could lead to danger. The knowledge acquired from the book cast a cloud of uncertainty and fear over her regarding the potential consequences of her enrollment in the royal school. In her endeavors to avoid danger, Suyu sought to present herself in an unfavorable light, exhibiting absurd and negative behavior in her interactions with others. It was her attempt to protect herself and ensure her safety by repelling those who might take notice of her and cause trouble. Unexpectedly and subconsciously, the young girl recited a verse about Her Majesty from a history book. The unexpected recitation of the verse caught the attention of David, a doctor of science. He became intrigued by the girl's persona and decided to choose her for a certain event. David handed Suyu a letter and explained that if the queen were to learn that a 5-year-old child knew and recited a poem dedicated to her, she would be astonished and captivated. This would be an opportunity for Suyu to participate in the queen's banquet, marking the first encounter between their family and her in 5 years. This extraordinary invitation allows the Weil family to be present at the royal reception, courtesy of the little Suyu. The girl decided to invite her little brother, Avery, to the royal reception. Despite Avery's hatred for his sister, she felt the need to share this important moment of her life with him. Perhaps she hoped that this event would change their relationship and lead to reconciliation. However, he declined, as he harbored a deep hatred for her. Instead, the action transports the audience to a scene where the clever doctor persuades the king to grant an opportunity to ordinary people in the realm of education, for they too possess immense talent, much like the gods. He emphasized the talent of his student Morel, who has already achieved impressive accomplishments. However, he also took notice of Morel's sister, Suyu, who exhibits the same great abilities and talent. The doctor emphasized that the young girl deserves a chance to cultivate her abilities, just like Morel. However, the king harbored biases against women and held his own prejudices. The scene unfolds in the banquet hall of the royal estate. The queen, feeling unwell, abstained from joining the guests. This proved deeply disheartening for Suyu, who ardently yearned for a glimpse of her mother. The young maiden found herself in jeopardy when she ventured out alone and inadvertently stumbled upon unfamiliar terrain. She fell prey to the king's clutches, who, instead of safeguarding her, harbored intentions of ending her life. This incident proved dreadful and terrifying for Suyu, her heart racing so swiftly that she could scarcely draw breath. However, something extraordinary occurred, and Suyu was swiftly returned to the palace. This may have been due to the intervention of a third party or a fortuitous turn of events that saved her from the clutches of the king. Despite the fear and shock that enveloped her, Suyu found solace in her survival and once again found herself in a state of safety. The young girl failed to comprehend why the king harbored intentions of ending her life. She was overcome with profound fear, fearing for her very existence. Upon her return to the palace, she was profoundly shaken and at a loss for what to do. Her sole desire was to lay eyes upon her mother and erase the memory of this harrowing ordeal. Following this incident, the young girl began exhibiting peculiar behavior, causing great concern among her family. There was a notion that perhaps she had fallen under a curse. The scene then shifts to the king's chamber, where he recognized in this maiden his own daughter. When the doctor of philosophy informed Morel that Suyu could attend the royal school, Morel was captivated and rejoiced for her sister. He perceived her talent and abilities, and it pleased him greatly that she had been afforded such an opportunity. However, when Suyu heard about the audience with the king, she felt a pang of melancholy and uncertainty. The young girl became sorrowful as she harbored fear of him. Yet, the king had entirely different intentions. The day of the audience had arrived. Suyu presented herself before the king. She realized that this audience would determine her fate and the prospect of attending the royal school. The girl understood that the king wielded great power and held the reins of her future. Hence, she carefully selected her words, seeking to underscore his magnificence and wisdom while expressing utmost respect and reverence. Suyu possessed the discernment to perceive the king's need for admiration and recognition. She purposefully highlighted his qualities, paying compliments to his intellect and leadership abilities. Although she felt vulnerability and fear within herself, she did everything in her power to avoid displeasing the king and to earn his favor. Suyu understood that this was a significant opportunity, one that could potentially alter the course of her life. She was prepared to expend all her strength and effort to persuade the king that she was deserving of this opportunity. The young girl hoped that her dignified and eloquent speech would convince the king to grant her a chance. The king was undoubtedly aware that her behavior was not driven purely by sincerity. They then proceeded to have tea. However, The girl was willing to do whatever it took to become a sorceress. The desire to become a sorceress burned within Suyu with tremendous intensity. She was ready to undergo any trials and exert every possible effort to develop her magical abilities. The practice of sorcery was not merely an aspiration for her, but also a means to unleash her potential and find her rightful place in the world. At this juncture of their interaction, its nature remained undefined, and Suyu was prepared to seize any opportunity that would bring her closer to her goal. Her determination and willingness to make sacrifices manifested in her actions, which could even involve partaking in tea with the king. During their tea conversation, Suyu continued to exhibit her profound interest in sorcery. She regaled the king with tales of her dreams and desires to cultivate her magical abilities. The king attentively listened to the young girl, observing her facial expressions and body language. After a few minutes of conversation, the king witnessed a genuine passion and inner strength radiating from Suyu. It became evident to him that this little girl had the potential to become a true sorceress. He decided to grant her the opportunity to pursue her dreams and develop her magical abilities. The king requested her to demonstrate her skills. The girl stated that she could recite the value of pi aloud. The king listened with astonishment as Suyu spoke about the infinite sequence of digits with a decimal point, which never repeats and lacks any discernible pattern. The king suddenly experienced a peculiar sensation, prompting him to command his servants to remove her from the premises. It turned out that only the former ruler possessed the precise value of pi, and he recalled her specifically in his visions. Following this incident, he became exceedingly malevolent towards everyone. Amidst mixed emotions, the king realized that Suyu possessed extraordinary abilities inherited from her mother. Such a blatant display of magic stirred anxiety and perplexity within him. He understood that this girl could alter his entire relationship and dominion. With such formidable abilities, she became a threat to his authority. However, no one comprehended the extent of the mischief caused by this maiden that led the king to behave in such a manner. The king's perplexity and apprehension can be attributed to his fear of the unknown and unpredictable. He failed to grasp the exact magnitude of Suyu's power and how it could alter his life and dominion. This uncertainty compelled him to turn wicked and suspicious towards everyone. Such a reaction from the king may be the result of his internal struggle, fear, and lack of understanding, as well as his desire to preserve his power and control. A week passed, and Dr. David invited her and Morel to his estate for a visit. The girl was deeply anxious about the encounter with the king. However, her brother Morel reassured her. He noticed that Suyu was greatly saddened after the meeting with the king. The young man understood the significance of this moment for her and the emotion she was experiencing. Morel approached her and took her hand, expressing his support and understanding. He smiled and reassured her that everything would be fine, that they would go through it together. Her brother reminded Suyu of her giftedness and strength, assuring her that she could overcome any challenges. Morel promised to be by her side and help her find answers to all her questions. Suyu felt a sense of tranquility and assurance in her brother's presence. His support gave her the strength to continue her journey and believe in her abilities. She knew she could rely on Morel when she needed assistance. They had now arrived at the estate of the doctor, and there, in person, the king himself appeared as their guest. He was aware of the arrival of the students and wished to converse with them. The girl was ecstatic to be in that mansion. She adored everything about it. She was captivated by everything around her, from the exquisite cuisine and luxurious chambers to the art and architecture. She also noticed that she had forgotten to bring a change of clothes. However, her brother, possessing magic, was able to alter their appearances. Suyu was enthralled by her brother Morel's magical ability. She always marveled at his talents and believed that she too, with time, could develop her own magical prowess. Suyu felt an incredible sense of pride and gratitude for having such a gifted and protective brother. As she beheld her new appearance, Suyu felt extraordinary. She sensed that the magic her brother had displayed had bestowed upon her the ability to become anyone and embody her dreams. She was ready to meet the king, to showcase her ingenuity, and to impress him with her abilities. Now, adorned with a transformed visage and newfound self-assurance, Suyu was prepared to become a part of this extraordinary encounter and demonstrate that she was worthy of recognition and acknowledgement in the realm of magic. Morel was diligent and devoted a considerable amount of time to his studies and the creation of an educational guide. He understood the importance of making education accessible to all, regardless of their social status or background. In his instructional manual, Morel endeavored to elucidate intricate concepts and knowledge in a simple and accessible manner. He aspired for ordinary individuals to acquire education and expand their understanding so that they could realize their potential and enhance their lives. Suyu wholeheartedly supported her brother in his endeavor to make education accessible. She took pride in having a brother who labored tirelessly for the betterment of others. Together, they explored new ideas and sought ways to make the world a better place through the power of education. The 22nd chapter unveils the king's arrival at the estate. Suyu was astonished and filled with trepidation. Suddenly, the girl lost consciousness, only to regain it in a chamber. His Majesty brought forth a magnificent bear, a trophy from his hunting expedition. In this manner, he intended to express his gratitude to the students. However, the girl was truly overwhelmed with fear. She felt repulsed and horrified to be in the presence of this abominable man. She felt helpless and trapped in this chamber with a king who seemed unexpectedly sinister and dreadful. Her heart raced, for the situation appeared exceedingly menacing. She attempted to gather her thoughts and calm her fears, but the repulsiveness of the situation and the presence of the bear stirred insurmountable anxiety within her. She longed to escape this chamber and return to her place of safety. However, Suyu understood that she needed to gather all her courage and find a way to overcome this frightful predicament. She surveyed her surroundings, hoping to find an exit or someone who could assist her. The young girl could not allow fear to paralyze her, for her dream of magic and education at the royal school was far too significant. Summoning her strength, Suyu resolved to approach the king. She sat beside him in the parlor, eagerly beseeching the king to offer her a slice of the delectable cake that adorned the table. It was a delight for her senses to behold the refined and delicious spread, featuring an assortment of confections. With an irresistible, endearing desire gleaming in her eyes, she addressed him. With a slightly surprised countenance, the king acquiesced to her request and handed her a piece of cake. Suyu smiled warmly and expressed her heartfelt gratitude to him. This simple act of kindness created a fleeting moment of connection between them, allowing the king to perceive Suyu not only as a threat, but also as an ordinary child with simple desires and joys. This moment between Suyu and the king opened up the possibility for further interaction and closeness. Perhaps it was the first step towards a shift in the king's attitude towards the girl, awakening his eyes to her potential and worth. And then she asked for some macaroni as well. Her brother witnessed this and was greatly surprised by his behavior. It was a strange amalgamation of emotions in Suyu. On one hand, she couldn't forget the cruelty that the king and his regime had shown towards her and her mother. It left a painful imprint on her heart, reminding her of the suffering they had endured. On the other hand, when the king displayed small acts of kindness towards her, such as giving her a piece of cake, she felt pleasure and recognition. This led her to doubt and confusion of emotions. She couldn't fully comprehend how such a cruel man could possess a softer side. Perhaps she hoped that the king would change and become better. Perhaps the young girl believed in the potential of people to change and deserve a second chance. Or perhaps she longed to experience the warmth and love that she so desperately needed. Such conflicting emotions were part of her inner world, and she constantly wrestled with them. The subsequent chapter recounts an event wherein a hawk swooped down and snatched the young girl's hat from her head. In its place, she found herself in the presence of royal nobility, and a sense of shame befell her. Suyu experienced embarrassment and discomfort as the hawk pilfered her hat and ushered her into the company of the royal elite. She felt bashful about her appearance without the hat in front of such esteemed individuals, causing her distress. This unexpected and arduous moment evoked in her feelings of vulnerability and a desire to vanish or preserve her dignity in front of those present. Suyu could sense that her appearance did not meet the expectations of the royal elite and might subject her to condemnation or ridicule. This could be a challenging moment for Suyu, as she sought favor and recognition from the king and his nobility, but now felt embarrassed and inadequate in her appearance. This situation could undermine her self-assurance and self-esteem. Later, they were riding together in the carriage with the king. While riding in the carriage, they were surrounded by peculiar individuals cloaked in garments. It was a perilous, treacherous situation. The king sought to protect the maiden. He simply commanded them all to be slain. Morel arrived, wanting to soothe the girl, for she was frightened and in tears. The sight of blood had caused her to lose consciousness. Morel, aware of Suyu's condition, hastened to her side to calm her. The young man endeavored to ascertain her state and offer her support. Finally, the girl returned to her parents, and they were unsettled, as she seemed to exude magic. If you don't want to miss my new videos, support the channel by subscribing and don't forget to like the video.